according to some here, I will not name, Jahmyr Gibbs might be the best running back in the league. In Brad Holmes spoke
Top
on
two
it. Rich
notches.
Eisen, he says, and Rich asked him about Jahmyr. I don't know if Lucas fed him that question potentially, and he asked about Jahmyr, and Brad says they want to give him more carries, but they do have David Montgomery. They do. He does love the 1-2 punch, but he is aware that Jahmyr has a lot of talent, and he's going to have to get more carries. So it was kind of a middle answer, but also admitting that they have to get him more involved. What do you guys think? This sounds like to me, Lucas. They didn't just forget about the man that Mike named the most underrated one to him.
You can, and I agree, but I sent it to you guys. The future MVP candidate of 2024, CJ Stroud, he was like, they asked him, it was him and Micah Parsons sitting down. He's like, if you could build an offense, who would you build? Put Devontae Adams on the outside. He put Tank Dell, obviously, because that's his guy in the slot. And they put Jamar Chase on the outside. Guess out of all the running backs in the NFL, who he picked? None other than Jahmyr Gibbs, number 26 for the Detroit Lions. And I understand that David Montgomery's still there, as he should be. David Montgomery ran for 1,000 yards this year. David Montgomery is a guy that ran for damn near everything you expected and a little bit more, and he had big breakaway runs. So to say that D-Mont should not get fed is not what I'm saying at all. Jahmyr Gibbs, though, he's going to get in these games where he's just hot, and I think when you're leading in games and you have a running back that's hot, you just keep giving him the ball. And at the same time, that's also helping Monty. That's keeping Monty fresh because Monty also deals with injury issues as well. He's done it his whole career. That's not a knock. He's just an in-between-the-tackles type of running back, so that's going to happen. Jahmyr Gibbs is just too good of a football player to not give the ball in big games. Like going into Houston, he's going to have to be the focal point outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I just think in big games, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be that guy, and it's going to show on the production board.
Damn, he had a narrative to beat my narrative. I didn't like that. But fellas, what'd you think of what Brad said and what CJ said? Because I did catch that as well.
We've been talking about this for months now. It's Jahmyr Gibbs has to get more touches. When you have a guy like that on your team, whether you have D-Mat, whether you have Sam, whoever you have, when you have one of the best players in the NFL, yes, one of the best players in the NFL, his ceiling is the ceiling of a Christian McCaffrey, a Saquon Barkley at his best. Those guys. That is what Jahmyr Gibbs does. It is a clear weapon you have on your football team. And when you have a guy like that on your team, you have to find a way to get him the ball. And yeah, last year you got him the ball, but as down the stretch in the playoffs, everything, you saw that. And then just looking at the schedule, like we talked about it all day today, the schedule, you have some tough games, and you're going for the 1 seed here. And yeah, maybe you want to kind of preserve him for the playoffs, kind of long term as well. The next couple of years, you don't want to beat him up. But I mean, dude, again, it's one of the best weapons in the entire NFL. There's no reason to keep the ball out of his hands. You have to find a way, whether that's taking the ball. You know, we talk about the replacement for Josh Reynolds, and we think JMO, yeah, he's going to step up, and DPJ is going to step up. But guess what? Josh Reynolds leaves, and that opens up more spots for a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, whether he goes in the slot, moves around a little bit, and he's going to get more touches out of that as well. So that's where I'm at with it. I think Jahmyr Gibbs for sure needs to get more touches. He's going to be one of the best. He's going to have a chance at Offensive Player of the Year at one point, whether it's this year or the following year. He's going to have a chance at it.
I do, and as I am the biggest Monty fan on this panel, I do still think Gibbs needs a little bit more touches. And Booner, that's what I was going to say is the catches. I've been clamoring for it. Him and Jameson Williams. You got to find better ways to get them both involved in the passing game because those two are weapons. But I still do think you need to keep it honest. You need to keep giving the ball to Gibbs or Monty and whatnot, and you need to switch it up in the red zone because Monty was so dominant. You can't just keep feeding Gibbs in the red zone. You just got to keep it honest with those running backs. They are better as a pair. You can't single one out and leave out the other. They need to be, like I said, you need to keep it honest with those two.
Hey, look, before we go to mailbag, I'll say this, all right? I'm not arguing with the talent. I think he's very talented. What I'm arguing with is I don't think Ben Johnson is going to just go away from Dave Montgomery to the extent to where Jahmyr can have like an all-pro 1,300-yard season. That's where I think he could be. Maybe it's – no, go on.
I just think about like Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Like they were a great duo for 2-3 years, but then it ended up being the Alvin Kamara show. And I just think that's going to happen with
one season. It's been
one season. Alvin Kamara has been dominating the NFL before this year for a good 3 seasons. He was stride for stride production-wise with Christian McCaffrey.
No, I'm
more
saying you've had David for 1 season.
I know, but I'm saying David's on a 3-year contract, so he's probably going to lose a little bit of production and volume this year, and then it's going to go the same way the next year because Jahmyr's going to get better. So after that year 3, it's going to be, I think, the Jahmyr Gibbs show. They'll probably sign somebody. Obviously, they'll replace D-Mont, franchise. I don't know what they'll do with them. But for right now, like, it's just one of those things where it's like you spent the 12th overall pick on him. Everyone on that team knows. And Ben Johnson, yes, he's excited to use D-Mont, but you don't think he's excited to draw up more plays for Jahmyr Gibbs because Jahmyr Gibbs 100%. Is one of 3 players that can do what he does. Jeff. It's just one of those things where, yes, it's I hear what you're saying, Mike, where it's very useful to use him, but I don't think they're in a position where they have to use David Montgomery in the red zone. Like, you can't not give like you watch Jahmyr Gibbs, especially in the back end against the Raiders, the Vikings, the Broncos. You watch those games. You don't need David. It's a luxury to have him, and I'm very happy to have him, especially when you talk about the frame of Jahmyr. But you don't need David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs is a guy that can do it all.
I disagree. I think you do need David Montgomery in a certain extent because David Montgomery, you've seen down the stretch, he was even getting those bully yards. Even when stuff wasn't working with Gibbs, you could throw in David Montgomery and the rush game was still effective. So totally taking him out of the equation.
Yeah, but I'm saying like specifically in the red zone.
Oh, yeah. And no, to be honest, Gibbs did fantastic towards the end of the season in the red zone. But I still, like I said, you just got to keep it honest. You can't just run one or the other, especially when you get down there, because they both have been so successful. So keeping those packages honest, keeping them both in there. You can't just have D-Mon out there on every single pass play, blocking, whatnot. You got to keep it honest. And those two, like I said, they're better as a pair.
Well said. I'm with Tyler. Like Tyler said, give 2 to 3, even 4 touches more to Gibbs, but that comes out of D-Mont. There you go. So instead of getting, 13 carries or 14 carries, maybe D-Mont gets 10. But I don't think it's going to be like 4 carries for D-Mont and like 14 for Jahmyr. It's not like it's not going to be like that.
Monty averaged damn near 5 yards last year per carry?
Yeah.
I believe so.
So you give him 11, 12 carries, you give Jahmyr 15, 16 to that point. Like, I think that's a great balance. And then Jahmyr's going to get 5, 4, 5, 6 catches. I think that'd be the perfect balance.
I still think D-Mont's going to get more than 11 carries a game.
I'm saying like averaging because you do that through the course of a season. I mean,
I think they're still. The thing is, it's like I think I'm with you, Klotz. Like, you have to give Jahmyr Gibbs the ball more. He's the better playmaker. So you want to get the playmakers the ball more. D-Mont is
how many carries you think?
I guess I got to see how many they each averaged last year to be able to kind of get that kind of idea. But just to me, though, more so just thinking about it, it's like D-Mont's not a scrub at the end of the day. Like,
no,
he's not a scrub at all. That's why, like, getting him down. So last year he averaged, I can just do the math real quick. He had 219 carries and played in 14 games. He averaged almost 6. He averaged 15.6 a game. He's not going to go from 15 to an average to 11. Like, I would understand if Jahmyr Gibbs, like, yeah, I know Jahmyr Gibbs is a playmaker. And again, Klotz, I agree with you on all this, but you have to look at the D-Mont side of things. Is if D-Mont was averaging 2 or 3 yards per carry and was just an average back in the NFL, then you could say, oh yeah, maybe they're going to go less. He's still going to end up getting 14 to 15 carries a game.
Are you making the case for us right now?
Where Jahmyr hey, why don't you let me finish over there, Juicy J? Huh? No, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get more touches. It's going to be out of the backfield catching the ball and finding those ways. And essentially, you're probably going to see, I know we ran the ball a lot. You might see a couple more running plays out of Ben Johnson and more plays set up for Jahmyr Gibbs outside of just normal running plays. So that's where I think they're going to start integrating more for Jahmyr Gibbs, putting him in positions to make plays and be a playmaker. But still with D-Mont, like, who's going to be the first back out on the field to establish the run? I think that's going to be D-Mont, as always. That's the type of back.
That's where I disagree. I think this year it should be, because Jahmyr's the type of guy that can put you in front. D-Mont's the guy that can wear you down. I would love Jahmyr
that's
to be
what
like
you do to start the game. Is you want to wear him down.
I say, and this is where I'm coming from. Jahmyr's a guy that can go now. Jahmyr's a guy that can just light up a defense right now. It takes him 2 or 3 plays. You get up ahead, and then in the second half, you start wearing that defense down with David Montgomery. And then, okay, now let's insert Jahmyr Gibbs for a couple plays to go get a big yards game. But then you just start wearing the defense down in the second half when you're up. That's where I think D-Mont can be really effective this year. I don't want to act like D-Mont shouldn't get carries, but I'm saying Jahmyr Gibbs, and I fully believe, is a guy that can rush for 12 to 1,300 yards this year, maybe a little bit less, but total yards, he's probably going to have 1,500 scrimmage yards at the bare minimum. I think he's going to need to at least have 3-4 more carries to do so. And that's going to take 3-4 more carries, maybe 2 away from Demont. I think that's just, it has to happen for the production to go up. I don't think it's going to be all out of the backfield because we love what Jahmyr can be, but we all got to face it at some point that Jahmyr was very inconsistent out of the backfield catching the ball. Like he's going to take a little bit more time developing too.
Who, Jahmyr?
Yeah, he especially
Jahmyr did it
early
at the
on.
end of the year, but he did it the second half of the year, so I don't think that's even an issue. I think they're going to get him the ball out of the backfield like that, anyways, in the pass game. I think Demont. I'm with Klotz. Like Klotz, this is where you lose me a little.
You kind of
this is where you lose me a little bit. It's like I feel like a little bit. You're a little like I think Jahmyr Gibbs could be an offensive player of the year candidate at some point.
But he's
like,
going to have to get more carries.
He will. But you got to think it's like. Demont, like you're acting like Demont's like Jamal Williams, where he's nothing.
See, this is where I get annoyed. This is where I get annoyed.
Hold on, let me finish.
I literally said Demont. I said,
are you gonna let me talk, or are you gonna keep talking? What are we doing?
You just said I said the man was Jamal Williams.
You let me finish my point, please.
Then use some
I
accurate
didn't say
info
you
if you're
said
citing
that.
an author.
All right, let's move on from this one because he's just gonna talk and
that man just knows ball.
Explain, Lucas.
I didn't say you actually said it. I said essentially you're saying he's like a Jamal to where it's take the carries away from him, give him 11 a game instead of the 16 he was getting. No, take a couple away if you need to, but you're going to add more run plays and you're going to add more opportunities for Jahmyr Gibbs in different situations to get the ball. Like you're going to have to do that. You can't sit there. A guy who averaged 5 yards a carry at Demont, yes, it's in a different situation. He's not a playmaker like Gibbs. I am on your side. Gibbs needs the ball in his hands more. But Demont, when it comes down to it, wearing a team down, like you said, you're not going to go from 16 to 10 carries or 11 carries a game. He isn't a legit running back in the league. What I mean about the Jamal Williams thing is if Demont goes to a different team, he's going to dominate just like Jamal didn't. He just did that in Detroit because of the he got fed the ball. Demont is a good football player.
Yeah, that's why
I an absolute dog.
With Sam Flannel saying Demont is the last thing from Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
I was giving an example. That's all it was. I didn't say you said that. Like, you got to listen a little bit.
I listened loud and clear. That's why I was appalled by what
you just get offended quick without listening to things.
I'm just don't put words in my mouth that I didn't say.
Okay, move on. I mean, this man just always.
I'm not gonna lie. Booner was kind of making some points for me and Gentry there, though, at the end.
That's what I was confused. I just don't know how.
He was
like, I feel like
switch up. It's just like it's obvious. Like you're not just taking the ball out of Demont's hand.
Wait,
come to the good side.
So you think
you're going to find a way to get Jahmyr Gibbs the ball more.
Yes,
you lost a guy like Josh Reynolds. He's going to get more touches. You can't you're going to have to find a way to integrate him in the offense in different ways. Whether it's throwing him in the slot, whether it's screen passes, whatever it is, you have to find more ways.